Now that we know how HTML came to be, let's go over entering elements, attributes, and exploring structure. In session 1.1b, study the syntax of HTML tags and attributes and define a web page head, body, and title. Let's get started on our first section of entering elements and attributes. Now that you've had a chance to review a brief history of the web and the role of HTML and its development, you are ready to write your first HTML document. Introducing HTML tags. An HTML document is composed of elements that represent distinct items in the web page, such as paragraph, the page heading, or even the entire body of the page itself. Each element is marked within the HTML file by one or more tags. If an element contains text or another element, it is marked using a two-sided tag set in which an opening tag and a closing tag enclose the element like a sandwich. The syntax of a two-sided tag looks like the example listed. You can see the first element tag is an open tag, the content goes in the center, and you have it followed by a closing element tag where you see our slash added into our tag. Where element is the name of the element you are using and content is the content of the element. For example, the following code marks a paragraph element with the content of "Welcome to the J-Prop Shop." Here you can see the paragraph tag with the content, which is our title, and your closing paragraph tag following. Elements can also contain other elements within. For example, in this code, the paragraph tag encloses both the text of the paragraph and the EM. So if you look at the first paragraph tag, we have "Welcome to," and then inside of the closing paragraph tag, we have EM, which is adding emphasis. It makes this text bold, so they're all within the same paragraph tag, but only the "Dave's Devil Sticks" is going to show up bold. The EM tag will make the content that it surrounds bold or emphasized text on your web page. Note that EM tags must be completely enclosed or nested within the P tags. You can see the example here if I was to write out a paragraph tag and then add in a statement, and I only wanted class to be bold, I can add that EM tag on the outside of it. And then notice that it is different than the hello. It adds a little bit of style to it so that it stands out. It is improper to have tags overlap. Every once in a while, you will use an element that doesn't enclose content that is considered an empty element. It is then marked with a one-sided tag using the syntax. You can see as it's explained here. It's just the ending tag, but it stands alone. In this example, element is the name of the element. For example, you can mark the line break using a BR element, which has the following syntax. So BR is one of those tags that stands alone. It stands by itself. It's adding a line break into your text. So it will either push text over, or if you add two, it'll actually push it down to the next line. Since empty elements don't contain content, they are often used to send directives to browsers as to how a page should be displayed. A browser encountering the BR element, break element, would insert a line break, causing the text of the next element in the document to be placed on a new line. Coming back to our example here, you can see that if I put that BR tag in, it actually shifts it down an entire line. If I add a second one, shifts it down again. White space and HTML. Since HTML is a text file, it is composed of text characters and white space. White space includes blank spaces, tabs, and line breaks found within files. As far as a browser is concerned, there is no difference between blank space, a tab, or a line break. Browsers also ignore consecutive occurrences of white space, collapsing extra white space characters into a single blank space. So if you type something that looks like this, it will actually show up on your page like this. So any spaces that you're adding in, it's not going to read as spaces unless you give it a break or tell it differently in the CSS page, our style sheet. So let's pay attention on my document between hello class and 1. I'm going to add some space in here. Notice no matter what I do, the space stays exactly the same. Spaces don't matter. You can use them for organization, but they won't adjust your actual website. Exploring the structure of an HTML document. The structure of an HTML document consists of different elements nested within each other in a hierarchy of elements. The top element in that hierarchy is the HTML element, which contains all of the other elements within an HTML file. Directly below the HTML element in the hierarchy are the head and the body elements. The head element contains general information about the document. For example, the document's title or a list of keywords that would aid search engines in directing interested users to the page. The body element contains all of the content that appears in the rendered web page. Thus, the general structure of HTML is written like this. You can see your opening HTML tag, your closing HTML tag. Within that, we have our head, where your head content will go, and your body, where your body content will go. In the head, you're going to have things like the title of the web page, things that you want your browser to pick up on, but it's not anything that is displayed on the actual page. Anything that you want to be able to see goes in the body. So something like our paragraph tag that we were looking at before. Note, the indenting is not needed, but it really helps to keep organized to check for errors later. As you get more complex with your code, it's going to be so important that you keep your items in a consistent, organized format. So I definitely recommend anytime that you're adding something in that's a major section or piece that you bump it over so it's easier for us to go back and find any errors later. The document type declaration. Prior to the opening HTML tag, many HTML files also include a document type declaration or doc type to indicate the type of markup language used within that document. Most current browsers use the presence or absence of a doc type to decide which mode they should use to render a document in a process known as doc type switching. The doc type of an HTML5 should be written like this. So you're going to see the same setup that we were just looking at before, but now notice that doc type is now above that opening HTML tag. Now that we've completed this lesson, let's go ahead and review.